on Shrine of Chaos next week.
Miniature soldiers, big opinions. This is the Conclave Podcast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode, I want to say, 20-something of the Conclave Podcast. Which, 20, what?
I think.
27? Is it?
Yeah, I think we're on to 27 now. This is, I heard a thing the other day, I heard a thing the other day about podcasts. 99% of them don't last beyond 10 episodes.
But we can't take a hint, so we're still here.
Yeah, pretty much. Unfortunately for listeners and for our guests who've kindly agreed to join with us, yeah, we are still here. So welcome aboard.
Amazing. So, yes, like you all know out there, our one fan who's listening to us. I am Quipster. Today I've got with me the Sandman. Say hi.
Hello, Alex.
Reza, say hi.
Hi, darling.
ADR Wargaming, also say hi.
Good evening.
And with us, we've got a very special guest. We've got with us Tanya, aka the Warmistress. How are you doing tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good. I am excellent because I have painted a gun today. I have painted a single weapon option.
You to
And that is
Like-
good for me.
Like, from start to finish?
I mean, it was already undercoated. I will say that.
All right.
So it's one thing at a time. But this is progress for me. And I was going to say, Tanya, what we normally do is we usually start off with a little bit of hobby progress,
Right.
and then we move into sort of the main meat of the show. So, for hobby progress, Adam, should we start with you? What have you been up to?
Yeah, a few things. So I've recently started a new job, so I've not had much time. So I've not actually done comparatively much hobby progress compared to what I normally would. But I have spent a bit of today short of a bike ride around London, which was quite interesting given events. I nipped past Buckingham Palace and there was sort of a wall of people staring at it. I don't know what they were putting flowers down, I guess. But I built a boat. I built a Drakari boat. I got to start collecting a little while ago, and I built as my other half called it, a space pirate ship, which is not inaccurate. It's a raider. And it is going to run around the battlefield and generally cause problems for people. At least that is my hope. But it's actually a very cool model. It's a very cool kit to put together. It reminds me, I was about to say I'm a massive nerd, but bear in mind I've been on Zoom calls all week with my new colleagues, right? And, you're saying they want to know a bit about you, and I just go, yeah, FYI, I'm a humongous nerd, in case you couldn't tell from the Warhammer that's sitting behind me on the same shot that they see on Zoom calls. As you already know, I'm a massive nerd, but it reminds me of Jabba's sail barge from Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
From Return of the Jedi. It's like a sort of sleeker, cooler version of those. So I am tempted to sort of model a slightly chubbier, Drakari sat at the back, just sort of sitting there going like, oh, watuka nipa bucha, or that kind of Huttese speak that Jabba comes out with.
What
But,
impressions
it's a really
can you
cool
not
kit,
do? You've just nailed
Oh
that
my
one
God.
as well. You're taking the piss at this point.
I don't think you can really ever nail Jabba, or nor would you want to. But the start collecting set for Drakari, I will say, is amazing value. If you are somebody who is looking to get into Drakari, it's probably the best start collecting I think GW have ever done. You get 10 Kabalites, Raider, Ravager, so sort of a transport and a tank type thing, and 5 Incubi. And if anybody, and I'm sure we'll discuss, sort of rules, more stuff like that later, but if anybody has been looking at the new Drakari Codex from a competitive point of view, Incubi are very good. They're very good. They're
Really?
going to cause some pain for people. Oh yeah. They're very, very, very good choppy boys now. So yeah, no, you get it's good value. But I'm having good fun building it actually. Unfortunately though, I will say hobby progress has been stalled not only by work, but my God, the unthinkable has happened. I've run out of Grey Seer, and there's none in any of the
Oh,
stores.
the spray.
None of the online store. Yeah. I think as our listeners, I've seen in the London few of the Warhammer chats that that we're in on WhatsApp. I've seen people saying that they're just having a nightmare getting hold of Grey Seer and Wraithbone. They just seem to be missing and out of stock. Both on GW's main website and in a lot of friendly local gaming store websites. So if anyone from GW is part of our audience, please make more, because my God, I need it. Otherwise, I will have legions of Duncan's disappointment grey plastic everywhere, which I don't like to have. So if they can sort that out. But that is my hobby progress. That is my hobby progress for the week.
Excellent. I love how we have this like national shortage of spray paint, and like all of us are beginning to feel it. Like. Even me, like, I'm looking at my last dregs of Chaos Black, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna make this really go far now.
It's a bit like if you say, I don't know if you know, pointless anecdote, nothing to do with Warhammer as well. But a few years ago, Norway ran out of butter.
Really?
Ran out of butter, yeah, because there's a big thing in Norway about making loads of cookies around Christmas time that are obviously very buttery, and due to some problems with like milk imports and the local sort of, I guess, milk production, there was a massive lack of butter in Norway. So man. I feel like Norwegian people, wargamers and otherwise, will have sympathy for us with our spray shortage.
Our listeners come here for Warhammer, but they come out here smarter, more well-rounded, knowledgeable people about the world.
That's how we've made it to 27 episodes.
Yeah, we aim to be good at pub quizzes. That's all I'll say.
You aim to be good
swear
at
to
pub quizzes.
God.
Your knowledge is amazing. I'm just there to look pretty.
If we ever do a pub quiz, Adam is on my team. Like, I refuse to play against Adam in a pub quiz. That is a thing.
Very
yeah.
kind.
I was gonna say actually, going back to like being a nerd and being on Zoom calls and stuff. I can't remember who it was. It was that guy who was on the news. He was on BBC News, and he just happened to have like a box of sisters like on the thing behind him.
I'll tell you exactly who that was. That was James Cleverly, who is a junior minister in the Foreign Office. And slightly weirder note, I actually know him. So I didn't know he was into Warhammer. But in a previous life,
And our guest next week.
When I was a younger and slightly more sadder individual, he was my local representative on like our local government in London. So I know James. I haven't seen him in a few years since I came back from uni. But I when I saw that, I was like, oh, interesting. He's into Warhammer now. Henry Cavill and government ministers.
That's so funny. I remember seeing that because it was all over like the sisters' Facebook groups. Like, oh my god, this guy collects sisters, and I was just like, oh my god, that's kind of awesome. I'm so about this.
Do we know? I mean, just on this, what other famous celebrities? Tanya, do you know any sort of like famous celebs in the US who are like famously Warhammer players?
So I am a person who doesn't really like watch movies or TV or anything like that. So there probably could be. I'm also Canadian. So.
Oh no! Do you know what? Do you know what the worst part of this is? I apologise for that because my other half is Canadian. She's from Toronto, and if anyone tells her she goes, "Oh, are you American?" she very rightly gets very annoyed with them. So I apologise profusely, and I'm a massive fan of the Great White North. So I apologise for that. I feel terrible.
No, it's
So
all
now your
good.
fiancée is just going to punch you when she listens to this.
Probably.
I've just Googled celebrities that play Warhammer, and we have some interesting results.
I know one.
Vin Diesel plays Blood
What?
Angels.
No
What?
way.
Trey Parker,
Oh my
co-creator
God.
of South Park. That tracks. That definitely tracks.
I mean, yeah, okay, that one I know.
Ansel Elgort. I definitely didn't say that right the first time. Paints miniatures. Robin Williams was a very famous player. There are lots of
That one I know.
GW
He played WoW.
employees who have got great stories there. Jordan from Axis of Awesome. Ed Sheeran. I think Ed Sheeran used to play as a kid. Ed Sheeran posted
Yeah, I
him
could see
building
that.
up some Space Marines in a dressing room. So there we go.
Oh, really?
Oh damn.
I've seen him buy a lot of Lego.
Jay from Jay and Silent and Bob, he plays Warhammer. And Edward
Oh,
Woodward,
wow.
the original Wicker Man, plays. And of course, Henry Cavill. So, damn, there are some celebrities that play Warhammer.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you call him a celebrity, but didn't former England football team manager Roy Hodgson also play Warhammer? Or there was a rumour that he played Warhammer for a while.
Really?
This is getting really weird now. I apologise.
Well, to be fair, actually, I don't know if all of you guys know this story, but one of the guys in our hobby group, Dean, used to work at Games Workshop, and he was the guy that sold Henry Cavill his first starter set and a whole bunch of codexes. Like, apparently he just walked into Games Workshop in Tottenham Court Road one day, and was just like, "Yeah, I'll have one of every codex and the starter box, please." And he just had a chat with Dean, and Dean was just like, "Oh my god, Superman collects Warhammer! This is amazing!" But like pretending to be really cool.
Yeah.
I would not be cool about it, like, at all. Like, I wasn't even cool about it when I met Bone, let alone fucking Superman.
I wouldn't
Oh my
know.
God.
I wouldn't know what he looks like.
Oh wow.
You
Wait,
would
really?
know.
You
You would know because he looks like a space marine in real life. He's
Yeah,
just
he
a god
does.
of a man. He's like 9 foot tall, built like a house. You'd notice
What
him.
kind of space marine, though?
He would be a custom.
A very handsome,
Very
one.
handsome.
He's
He looks
quite
like-
chiseled. He's not like a scarred, like kind
No.
of veteran. Because there's the thing when you say he looks like Space Marine, he looks more like a
Yeah,
custodian.
Custodia probably.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Oh no,
So
I'd say he looks like an
like
Ultramarine.
he kind of looks like Quipster then.
No.
yeah, yeah. Imagine Quipster, but like after he's been to the gym for a while. And then, no.
No, you're right. This is like skinny me right now. It's terrible.
No. I say that with love. You're a very svelte man, but Henry Cavill is a big
Henry
man.
Cavill looks like a
He's got
rugby
to be to
player.
play Superman, right?
Yeah, no,
He's got to be
Henry
to play
Cavill.
Superman.
He is a monster.
He'd probably appreciate that though, Tanya. Like I get that. I feel like if you're sometimes if you're like super major celeb, movie star, and you go into somewhere and like when you're buying your stuff, you probably appreciate when people are just like treat you like normal and are like kind of who are you.
I have heard that before.
So if you see Henry Cavill in Games Workshop, ladies and gentlemen, do make sure you go up to him and say, "Who the fuck are you?" Because he'll really appreciate it.
In that tone as well.
Custody.
Yeah, literally just like that.
What kind of an arse collects custodies?
Well, actually, saying this, moving on to someone else's hobby progress, Tanya, what have you been up to?
I know you think that I'm gonna say in terms of hobby that I've been up to custodes, but I have not. No, but I have been reading up a little bit on them. So I'm in coaching for
I approve.
Warhammer because I'm not very good at the game. So and I play Guard, and Guards suck. So my coach and I have been thinking about how to make them not suck, and we think maybe adding a little bit of custodes in there might help. So after this,
A little
I'm
bit of
playing.
spice.
Yeah, so after this, I'm playing on TTS. It'll be my first time testing out how custodes and Guard kind of fit together.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's really
Tastiest
cool.
of Imperial soups.
Yes, but like in terms of hobby, like because I make so much content, I always have like a stream project that I do that I paint on Twitch, and then I have something that I paint for me that I paint off of Twitch. So my stream project right now is 3 orc bikers. They're really cool though. I don't know if you ever played Borderlands at all. Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
but
game.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like orc bikers, but they're in a mono wheel, like on Borderlands 3.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm working on those on stream, and then my off-stream project for me is a second Manticore. So
That's awesome.
May I ask, as somebody who's painting up orcs at the moment, what was your thoughts when you saw the? Because I presume obviously you have like an orc force he's going to be added to you. What was your thoughts on the new squig? What are they called? Beast snaggers?
I hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No!
no, but that's why I asked, because I know it's generated. Like, there's been a lot of people who are just like, this is an AOS model
Yeah.
with like a rocket stuck on
Yeah,
it. I know it's been very controversial.
yeah. So for me, it feels like an Age of Sigmar Orruk model. It doesn't feel like 40k to me, but also I'm fairly new to orcs. I just started them in November. So, and the stuff that I like is very like mechanized, kind of heavy armored kind of thing. So it kind of just goes against my aesthetic, and yeah. It's not my thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, I like that other people like it. That's awesome. But it's just, it doesn't really fit how I want to play the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, that makes sense. But what are we counting that that Space Marine sort of like test model you did as well as part of the latest hobby progress?
What, the Pink Templar?
That's the one.
Yeah. I mean, you could. I literally always have something on the go. But yeah, you could count that one if you want. If you want to talk about that one, yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was really cool. I really loved the base on it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
That project, so I always tell people that project started out as a spite idea. I was never actually going to make it, but I was just like, oh, people say that my painting is too clean, and like people say that my painting isn't grimdark enough, and people try to tell me how to play the game, and I get mansplained sometimes. So I was just like, you know what I should do? I should just trigger all those people and make a pink Space Marine. And then I had this idea, and then it wouldn't go away. And then I started talking to a few friends about it, and I was like, yeah, I should just like put like cute animals and like woodland creatures on the bases, and like put sparkles on everything, and and then my one friend brought up like Diablo 3. He's like, well, what about that level in Diablo 3? And I was like, oh my god, Whimsyshire. And he's like, yeah, that level. And I was like, okay, so that's the plan. I'm going to do like Whimsyshire bases and like the brightest, pinkest Marines you've ever seen. And like, I'm going to put them in one of the manliest chapters that exists. So they're going to be Black Templars and... and then I started painting it and I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to do more of them.
I have so much time for this.
You know what I love about it as well, like the pose on that Phobos Marine as well. It just looks like he's looking at the kind of person who's like, why are you wearing pink armor? And he's just looking like, before they've even said it, he's just looking at him like, what?
You what, mate?
Yeah. Like, have you seen my bolter?
Oh
yeah.
my God, I love that so much. It's just that, like, did you sculpt those little mushrooms on the base?
Yeah, and the teddy bear. He has a teddy bear on the base.
Oh my god, that is awesome.
It's the cutest thing. Amazing. It's so cool. And the
Yeah.
bear really, his eyes really pop out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the bear.
Yeah.
But genuinely though,
Does the bear have a name?
If you do,
Meltabomb.
It's like the little what are they called? You know, the ones in it's Call of Duty, isn't it? On the zombies, like the little monkey bombs.
Yeah.
It's like that, but with a teddy bear. I love it.
oh my god, yes. But like the funny thing is as well, if you do manage to get 2,000 points of like an army that looks like that done, it will look amazing on the table. Mm-hmm. Like, not that I'm biased or anything, but it's quite rare to see like a very brightly coloured 40k army. So when you do see it, it like really stands out. And so like bright pink, oh my god, at a competition that'd be amazing.
It's kind of the antithesis to my guard army, because my guard is like dark green, dark gray, and like a little bit of like red accents, right? Like, in general, it's like pretty safe colors. It's pretty drab and dark. So it's like having that on the well, that'll be on a few shelves, and then having like a shelf of pink Marines. I think it'll just look really cool next to each other. So.
Oh my god, yes. I am so all about this.
I'm slowly building an Emperor's Children force, so frankly, more pink Marines, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Anytime, I mean, it does make me laugh though when there are people who go sort of, there are a lot of reasons Marines should be grimdark. How dare you paint them? All that nonsense. It's like, guys, there is. You do realise there is an entire canon chapter of absolute nutcases painted bright pink, right? I mean, obviously, apart from the do what you want, but if you just want to, if you actually want to sit there and be like, I've got my book of lore, like in the actual lore, we already have that. So
I mean,
it's just ridiculous.
Even
also,
if you look at...
also the rainbow, what are they called? The rainbow
Marines
chapter. Bring them back.
They're cool. That's a hard color scheme though, but they are really cool.
I just think it's really funny that people think that one, their opinion matters, and two, that they can tell other people what to do with their war dollies. Like they're painting them how they want. You don't. I mean, you can have an opinion, but it shouldn't matter, right? So.
I mean, Tanya, to be fair, I think you'll find that toy soldiers are actually very serious business. We've got to take this very seriously.
Very seriously, okay?
Extremely seriously.
Like life and death.
I love as well, like, when people try and make that argument. Like, I don't know if Games Workshop did this on purpose, but, like, the most serious Primarch with the most, like, serious Legion are all bright yellow.
The Banana Boys.
Literally. I love that.
Well, you don't need camouflage when you're the one building the fortress and sitting inside it, right? That's the logic there.
Sure.
Also, construction workers, famously, construction
high
workers
vis.
wear brightly coloured high vis, so that's what it's all
You
about.
just nailed it on the
See,
head.
it all makes sense.
Imperial vis, the high vis jacket of the 40k universe.
Old Rogel Dawn walking around in a hard hat with his architectural plans under his arm. That's normal.
Please,
Love it.
please, somebody kit bash that Rogaldorn with little blueprints under his arm, please. Do it.
What you gotta do is you gotta model them though, doing like really like mundane versions of fortification. Like, because if you think about it, right, they're building these fortifications, right? There's obviously the guys who we build the stronghold and we put the guns in and blah, blah, blah. Then there's going to be like, what do you do? It's like, hi, I'm Keith. I'm from the 10th Company. I do all the drainage and roadworks. Like one of those stop go boards. Just when the rhino's coming down, he's like, I got a minute.
Like what I'm seeing right now is a diorama, okay? And the diorama is a giant hole. Right? And there's Imperial fists, and they're all standing around the hole conversing. And there's one scout inside the hole with a shovel digging. But there's like 10 like actual Marines like around the outside of the hole telling him how to do it.
Checking clipboards.
Yep. Yeah, there's like a safety committee there making sure he doesn't hurt himself,
Rabute Gilliman turns up and he's like, we must conduct the Indomitus Crusade. This hole must be filled in. How long? And they just turn around and go, I don't know, mate. Probably, probably 6 to 8 weeks.
Gilliman will probably tell them off for how much it costs for them to do the hole as well.
Have you filled in the correct forms? It's an I-934.
I've looked at my spreadsheet. This is way over budget.
It's not zoned for that, sir.
That is the most Gilliman quote ever. Do you have zoning permission for this?
Yeah, alternative careers for Primarchs. Rabute Gilliman, local zoning official.
Oh my god, yes. It was so doing this. And on that note, talking about hobby progress, Sandman, what have you got for us? What have you been up to?
I have done a couple of things. There was a new book for the Dark Angels that came out officially, which was really nice, called Luther, which is pretty big deal. I think that not many factions get to see their lore moved on very often, and we've had that now. It's a fantastic idea. It takes place from Luther being interred inside the rock all the way through to 40k, where he meets Azrael essentially. And it's really interesting idea. It's designed to kind of fill in a lot of the holes. If you've read the Horus Heresy, I think a lot of people would have gone like, wait, we don't really see much of Luther. Really, we don't really see him do all this bad stuff. Is he really the big bad guy? And this book is to clarify kind of what he's been doing off screen, as it were. And so that was quite cool. So definitely recommend that one. I think one of the things for me has been, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, despite the fact we've had lockdown and there's been all this time to paint, I've also had it where I get incentivized to paint quite a lot by playing, because I like to try different lists. And so weirdly, I played my first game in a long time last week. We can play Gardenhammer in the UK now, which was really nice. And so now we're looking to play again. It's actually kind of given me an incentive to kind of get some stuff done, which is pretty cool. So outside that I haven't really painted too much. It's kind of added to things I've been batch painting lots of stuff at once, and then I get bored and move on.
I mean, honestly, like, especially when it comes to, like, essentially the big horde armies that you have, Ed, like Gene Stealer cults especially, I don't know how you can sit and paint like 30 hybrids. Like, that process for me, just, I couldn't face it, honestly.
I mean, contrast paint is so amazing for hordes. So that's not too bad. Like, I'm actually as we speak, I'm painting my my aberrants, and there's not too many colors on them really, so they're not too bad to get out. But it's the stuff that is quite finicky when you have to do that across lots of models that ties you out. So my basing scheme isn't particularly hard. However, it requires quite a lot of Stirland mud, and you pretty much have to paint the model on the base first, so you can't kind of do the bases separately because of how it works. And when you're handling a lot of Stirland mud around a painted model, it makes me very nervous, and so I end up taking quite a long time to do each individual base, and so that ends up just killing me, because I'm just like, how many have I done? 4. It's been 4 hours. Fuck. Okay. Cool.
I mean, to be fair though. Oh god.
I was gonna say, Ed, I haven't even started basing my Tyranids yet. I painted the Gaunts and I painted the Gene Stealers, but I haven't even thought about one. And because I took a look. What was it? A Grellan Earth. I took a look at that, and like you, I was like, oh Christ, I'm gonna have to be careful now. Yeah, sod this. So they're currently sitting in a cupboard, unbased. I feel terrible.
It is the one. It is, because I generally, I'm quite, I'm not a very good painter, Tanya. So like I don't really venture much out into the testing cool schemes and stuff like that. So I generally stick to GW stuff, and I'm always fine with it. But it's the one place that gets so expensive if you're doing a horde army, compared to any other supplier. I find it's much more expensive.
I mean, to be fair as well, I think you need to explain like the bases that you're doing and sort of like the theme behind the army, Ed, because like there's a reason why you're spending so much on Stirland mud.
So yeah, it's all, they're all my Gene Stealer cult are agri-world based, and so they're all on like ploughed fields. So it requires quite a lot of dumping of Stirland mud on the base, and then kind of drawing out where the tractor or combine harvester has gone through. It's the coolest thing I've ever done, but it takes a lot of work.
I love that so much. I mean, Tanya, you must have experienced like just looking at 400 models and just being like, okay, this is 3 platoons of guardsmen, let's go.
Well, my guard, like the way I play guard, I don't have actually a lot of troops. So I have 60, so I have 6 10-man infantry squads. And that's pretty much all that I ever use. I do have 30 more infantry dudes that I have to paint. And I will do that at some point. But because I'm still trying to figure out like what I want to do for my competitive list, I don't want to do it quite yet. Right now, my orcs are more of like my main focus, because I'm like looking at an entire shelf of orcs that I have to do, and it's 1/3 done. So, but I do like to batch paint the orcs. While I'm doing it, I often question my sanity and like why I chose to do this. But then at the end, I can look and I can see like, oh, I've got 40 orc boys painted to like above tabletop standard, and they look fantastic, and I feel really good about that. So yeah, I've got 15 storm boys that I think I'm gonna do. Not next, but soonish. So.
And so, what does a competitive guard army generally look like?
And they don't look like anything.
Fair enough.
In general,
that's why we haven't talked about it.
F in the chat for the guard.
Yeah, well, in general, like, you're going to have certain things. Like, you're probably going to have 2 full payload manticores. You're probably going to have... it's just because there's not really a meta list, right? But in general, you're going to have those. You might have, like, a Demolisher tank commander or 2. But yeah, other than that, it just depends how you want to play it. So for me, I like to play kind of more mechanized. I'd like to have tanks. In general, I would like to have all tanks, but it's not viable in this current point in time. But I do know that there are some people who are having a tremendous amount of success with like very few tanks and all foot soldiers. So it just really depends how you want to play it. But yeah.
I've been looking at Bullgrim for my GSC. The problem I have is that for something like Bullgrim seem to do the thing that Bullgrim do worse than everything else that does the thing that Bullgrim do, which is just stand there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This is the problem with Guard in general. Is like you look at things within the Codex, and they look really good, right? Like in terms of like a tough melee unit, Bullgrim look great when you just compare it to what's in your Codex. Once you start looking outside of the Codex and looking at other factions, you're like, oh yeah, none of this stuff does anything very good, right?
Comparison.
Right, like it's either too expensive or it just is not tough. Like what's an invulnerable save, right? Like
Yeah.
and for this reason is why you don't really see a lot of Guard players in like the competitive scene.
Right.
Fair. Are you a big fan of super heavies? Is that like just for fun?
I don't even own one.
Right.
I don't even own one. I'm thinking about getting one, but I don't own one yet.
To be fair, Sandman, this is a bit of hobby progress you missed because you do have one, and it's remarkably unique.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, I mean, as a Gene Stealer coach, you can take Guard stuff. So I have bought a Baneblade, and it is waiting to be painted. It's obviously got Gene Stealers crawling all over it. It's my pride and joy at the moment, I think, actually. There's something that is so cool. They seem to be very, very good against other Baneblades and other super heavies. But like, even against like knights, they're just like for a Binvan, yay! Like,
yeah. In general, I think the Baneblade variant is like one of the weaker variants of the Baneblade chassis.
True, yeah.
Yeah, there's
it's just
other.
Classic, so I just felt I had to go that one. I think that was,
yeah. It is super iconic, but I am thinking about getting one. It's just like I've got like 10,000 points of stuff to paint, and I'm like Quipster. I don't paint very fast, so it just doesn't make sense for me to get one just yet. But yeah, I am kind of toying with the idea of like maybe a Bane Hammer. Like I want something that I can put troops or Bullgrim into. So it is on my mind. So it will probably happen. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, hopefully by the point at which you've got your, like you say, like Quipster, you take your time over your painting. By the time at which your army is like ready to go, they will drop the Guards update codex, and you'll get like a big glow up, and then it'll be like, right, these Bullgrims will actually be good, and like the tanks will be a bit cheaper and stuff like that. Yeah, they need it, right? They need the next iteration of the codex, because they're just suffering by virtue of being having the internal issues, which it does, but also just being an 8th edition codex when all the 9th stuff is coming out. Yeah,
I do want to caveat this by saying like most of my Guard is done. When I say I have 10,000 points, it's like mostly other stuff. So it's going to be like orcs or space wolves or pink Templars or Slanesh demons or whatever. Like it's all my other stuff. It's been like 2 years of me like just strictly painting and playing Guard. 2 years? Yeah, 2 years. So most of my Guard stuff, with a few like outliers, is like the infantry, and that is painted. But
nice.
A lot of people like to sort of wish list away and like, oh, a lot of people tell me, like, because I like to bitch and moan about how bad my faction is, and a lot of people
that's like half the hobby.
Right, and a lot of people will just say, well, just wait until the new codex comes out, right? And it's like, that's nice if you don't play, right? So in the meantime, I am not like I don't really like to wish list. I don't like to think, well, what could they do to my faction to make it better, right? Because there is a small chance that the book could come out and it could be worse. You just never know.
Yeah.
So I like to just sort of like look at the tools that I have and make the most out of it. And then if I just lose all my games, I can just bitch even harder and just be like, oh, I just lost because my faction's trash. It's fine. It's fine, right?
I totally agree, and it's such a shame because it's like if you do play the game, the rules do matter. They should be something that are of importance to GW, and especially when some of the stuff is really easy to fix. Like just drop a couple of points here and there. And like that's genuinely it. Like give one person take 2 hours. It's literally a PDF. It is literally one PDF. GW, please just reduce the points. God, yeah. Anyway,
given the ability of G-Dubs to mess up some PDFs in the past, I'm not too hopeful. You say it's 2 hours of one PDF, it won't be.
No.
This is the thing as well. Like I, as a Custodies player, am really, really like not blessed but spoiled when it comes to like stuff like this, because like Custodies were like good when they first came out, then they were okay, and then all of a sudden when War of the Spider came out, we just got really good really suddenly, and I was like not used to it. I was like, oh, this is great. Oh, I'm loving this. And so yeah, I was.
What
just
does that
like,
feel like?
I don't know what all these other people are complaining about. Oh, it's amazing, honestly. Because I was reading through those strats, and I was just like, this is so good. I am. You feel it in your soul. You're like, this is amazing.
For example, so I'm playing my first game with Custodes after this, and I make little cue cards, right, with like rules and stuff on them, so I can remember. I don't have to flip through my books. And like for Guard, I think I have like 5 stratagems that I think are actually useful. There's other ones that I would use, but today I made my stratagems card from the Custodes stuff that I could use that I thought would be useful. And like there's so much useful stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like there's so much useful stuff. And like I mean, I'm excited to be able to use my CP on cool stuff.
Yeah, so it's so funny you say that, because like I had all of these guys like basically turn this into a meme when we were able to play games last summer, because like War of the Spider had just come out, and like I was beginning to play games again, and literally I would play and it'd be like every single time something happens, oh, I've got a strat for that, hang on a sec. Literally every single time anything happens, like I've got a strat for that.
I will say though, the one thing you didn't have a strat for is Richard's Blade Guard. You like Blade Guard, don't you, Quipster?
Don't you even start. I just fuck you and your Blade Guard.
Thank you, Adam.
For context, Quipster, bless him, he has like a reaction to the word Blade Guard whenever it's brought up now. So
to be fair,
it's just like an instinctual dislike.
I also have that reaction to Blade Guard.
Oh.
Like,
see?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, not to look at.
No, it's not just the.
Oh, they're beautiful models.
Oh, they're beautiful models, but
we should say for further context that Rich is a Blade Guard enthusiast, as much for the look as how they play. God. How many have you got now? You've got
15.
like 15 Blade Guards.
Well, actually,
of course.
I was going to say as well. Talking of Rich, Reza, let's hear your hobby progress. What have you been up to? More Blade Guard, I assume.
No, so a bit like I don't think I've really made much progress. I haven't been well the last month, so like in the last couple of weeks I really felt like I can like do anything. So I've painted. So I read the new Euro Adventurous book, The Swords of Calth, and
was that good?
Yes, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Euro Adventurous was like the first Warhammer novels I ever read, so I mean, like, just put him in my face, I'm happy. So I decided from that I would paint his. Yeah, that's
so weirdly phrased.
But I was happy, guys.
You're an adventurous. Just sit on my face. It's fine.
But from that, I decided that I'd paint his command squad. So I painted his command squad. That's something I've done, and it's kind of like it was a labour of love and joy, and it was great. And the Warhips that Josh put out, the Euro Adventurous tutorial, so I just used that to paint the whole entire command squad, and it was just they look great. And I'm really happy with them. And then I also painted Treebeard, who I generally think that's the best thing I've ever painted. He came out so well. I'm really happy with it. And he's such a really cool model. The sculpt, I look at him and I feel like I am on top of him throwing stones at Urukai.
Honestly, that model especially, it looks like it was just made for contrast with like the textures you've got on all of it.
Yeah, like his beard, you could really mix and blend in, and there's no wrong way of doing it, because my beard will look different to the way Josh did his, but it's just the way you can get the different colours to go over it. It really gets the foliage really well. It just looks so nice, and it's the first time I've ever really experimented with blending paints like that. And I was so happy. My dad walked in and I was painting it. I was like the biggest smile on my face, like, damn it, it's Trainbeard! So yeah, that's been really what my hobby progress is. I think I'm going to start finishing up some Necrons, just get some more of my Necrons done now. That's probably my next stage. Because I guess, as Ed said, Garderhammer's a thing. So I'll be having my second jab in like, I don't know, a month, and then I'm going to go out there and play Warhammer. So
you're getting your second jab soon. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've been locked up. Well, we've all been locked up, but I'm not going out until I feel like, I've been jabbed twice, and because I don't want to risk it with my health is going up and down. So once that happens, I'm gonna kiss and hug everyone. So you lot be ready.
I'm so down for that. I'm so jealous as well. Like, I'm gonna have to do so. Like, for listeners out there who don't know this, I have a chronic condition, but I haven't been on any medications since like last February, and so my doctor and all of my medical people put me in the like normal people category. So I'm not allowed to have the vaccine until like everyone else does. And it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, guys.
I'd say it was a weird experience going to get the jab, and I'm 27, and at the time it was everybody plus 50, so I was like half everybody's age in the building. It was quite funny.
That's so funny. Actually, going back to what you said as well about your dad walking in and doing the jab, looking at your tree beard, it's always a funny thing. I like trying to explain how excited you are over like your latest hobby project to like friends and family, because like it just like doesn't, like, it just doesn't work. You're just like, oh my god, look at this thing.
So I saw it was my mum's birthday last week actually, and we went down there and sort of did distant stuff in the garden, and my birthday was sort of late March. And she bought me very kindly. It's actually sitting on my desk here. She bought me a Tyrannid model, Forge World model, and she did the typical like British mum thing. I mean, I say British mum. I think it's all mums, right? But especially British mum. Where midway through the conversation, she just turned to me and just went, "Did you like your Warhammer thing? Was it nice? Was it what you wanted?" I don't know why I've given her a sort of Northern English accent. She's not. She's from London, but still, it was just this bizarre. And I was just like, yeah. Did it arrive okay? Have you built it? No, I haven't. No. Oh, can I see it when it's painted? Yeah. I'll bring it down. That's fine. You can have a look at it. I know. It was well cute. I was like, cute. She was like, the best bit was she sort of asked me all this, and then she went, "What is it?" She just ordered it off Forge World and just had no idea. She was like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I don't know, maybe a side Tiero duel." She's like, "Okay, cool." And I just went, "Well, Mum, it's sort of like a big bug." And she went, "That's nice."
That's nice.
Yeah, I was like, okay, cheers, Mum.
Well, that's the good thing. Like, I try to get my brother and my dad excited about obviously all the Space Marines I've painted, or the Necrons and some of the Grey Knights painted, and they have no idea. My brother comes in and goes, "That one looks a bit like something from Dark Souls," and that's about as interested as he gets. But then Lord of the Rings, my brother writes his English university essays about Lord of the Rings. He's that much of a fan, and my dad obviously has watched the movies and read all books. So if I come to him with my tree beard and my Urukai, he's like, "I actually know what that is, and that is pretty cool." And he's like, "You actually know how to paint," and I'm like, "Thanks. Is that you saying good job?" Thanks.
You've given me the highest compliment, bro. Thank you. My other half. Oh god. I was gonna say my other half, my significantly better half, Kelly, has a weird mix of like very strong opinions because she's reading the Horus Heresy at the moment. She's been going through it. She's on Fulgrim now. And has very strong opinions on characters in the Horus Heresy. So she said Eidolon, he's a dick. And I was like, well, yeah.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But then also, she's not necessarily a fan of the game in quite the same way, like more into the sort of, I guess, the literature around it. And she said to me, one of the main reasons why, she said, there's no sexy characters. There's no one sexy. Now, I'm sure there's listeners out there who will tell us who they think they're like sort of like sexiest, the Warhammer character or army or model they fancy. I've tried to say, well, look, the Drakari have like, you know, they're kind of svelte elves in armor, and they're, you know, kind of look quite kind of sheeny, and they're into that sort of thing. So I'm going to try and get her into the Drakari, but we'll see how that goes. Until then, it will just be her telling me that Eidolon's a dick for a while, which again, accurate.
I love that. But I will say, at least, like, none of that is embarrassing. Like, all of that is fairly contained. What's happening with me at the moment, and, like, I don't know what to do about this, is my mum has access to our company Instagram, because she, like, does a lot of our marketing. She'll, like, post like, stuff that she's up to with the business and all that kind of stuff. However, what she tends to do is she doesn't realize, because she has all the Instagram accounts for work on her phone, and she doesn't know which one she's using, and they all follow my hobby account. And so every single hobby post I have will have my mum in the comments somewhere from our work account being like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, my son. This is so beautifully painted." And I'm just like, "Mum,
That's so cute.
It's adorable.
Mum, people can read this. This is from the work account."
Mate, that is worth 10,000 times any Warhammer community, you know, sharing thing.
It's true.
Right? Just bear that in mind when you're embarrassed
That
by
is
it,
true.
right? That is worth more.
That is true. That is true.
Should we also just say hobby progress is also that we all bought tickets to the what's that thing? I got halfway there. I got halfway there. Sorry, help me. We bought tickets to something.
Listeners, we've all bought tickets to the thing. No,
The cinema.
I believe, Rich. We're all going to watch the Henry Cavill-a-thon and dress up as custodians. No, we have bought tickets. They recently announced the team behind the London Grand Tournament, which is obviously the second biggest one
In the world, yeah, I think.
after LVO. They've announced one in the glorious city of Leicester. So we have decided collectively to wander up to the English city of Leicester and go to the GT. So if any listeners are going to the Leicester GT in when is it? December, November? Yeah, December, isn't it?
Something like that,
I know when it is.
We will see you
not
there.
Where it is. I'm just following you lot.
I've got a friend's wedding the weekend afterwards. In theory, again, COVID sort of permitting. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, that one.
Amazing. I literally got my ticket for that today. Honestly, I can't wait, because I think I've only ever been to 2 Warhammer competitions so far, and they were both the Fun and Fluff tournaments in London, and I don't think are that representative of competitions as a whole, because Tanya, I don't know if you've heard of the Fun and Fluff competition in London, but it's fun and fluff, so it's not that serious. You don't get ITC points now, and there's a lot of weighting towards your narrative that you bring and your lore, and there's a lot for like hobby scores and stuff. And
You get scored on how fun you are as well, don't you? Right, that's how good an opponent.
Oh,
you
yeah.
are, which is like a bit like I think that's the heaviest weighting of score, right? Which is
something like that, yeah.
which is good.
Which,
Do you guys do a lot of
it's
tournaments?
super enjoyable. We will. I don't think we have
Yeah,
it
so-
yet.
Okay.
So we all got back into the hobby, I guess, fairly recently. So like we were in that unfortunate period where we got back in. I think we did a few, via, because these are all organised as a big organisation, London Wargaming Guild. And sort of put these together. So we've done a few tournaments with them. I think Ed's done a couple more because he's been doing it a little bit longer. But then obviously COVID hit, and we were all signed up for the London GT this year to do sort of more competitive Warhammer. Give that a go. Again, I know you said I'm certainly not a very good player, so we'll see how that goes. My goal is always win one game. If I can win one game, I leave happy. It's a good, it's a good time for all. To be fair, even if I don't win one game, I'll still leave happy because you generally meet very, very good people at these sorts of events. And have a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're definitely going to try and do more competitive-y stuff as things open up. So yeah.
Yeah.
How, do you know what are things like where you are, if you don't mind me asking? Because I know obviously, like I know, and forgive me, I don't know where you're located, but I know Toronto, for example, has just gone like back into a full lockdown. So I was talking to my other half's parents and stuff. It was just like, yeah, it sounds like it's not not opening up for tournaments or gaming anytime soon?
Yeah, so I live on the West Coast. So I live in British Columbia.
Right.
And it's a little bit different out here where we can't have, well, we're kind of like in sort of a gray area right now on what we can and cannot do. But we, in general, like my area is quite competitive. And we like my group that I play with in particular are quite competitive. And my next tournament isn't scheduled until August. Everybody's just sort of like holding off on things because we're just not really too sure when we're going to be able to get more than 10 people together. But yeah, like in general, I love tournaments. I'm not like the greatest player. I am getting quite a bit better since doing coaching. So my first tournament, I got 1 win and 4 losses. I had only been playing for like April, May, June, July, August, September. I had been playing for 7 months.
Wow.
And then, so I went to the tournament and I got 1 win, 4 losses. And I had only been playing guard for like 4 months or so, I think, at that point.
Oh, wow.
And so then my next one, I went 2 wins and 3 losses. And then I started making goals. So then my goal was I wanted to be above the halfway point. So my last TTS tournament that I did, I got past the halfway point. But my goal is to go consistently 3 wins and 2 losses. So that's sort of what I'm working towards.
Awesome.
But in my area, it's funny you talk about sportsmanship. Like in my area, whoever gets the best sportsmanship score usually gets the best prize. So the way that we do it locally is it's just like a big table full of prize support, and whoever gets the best sportsman, they just get the first pick. So it's usually like an Indomitus box or whatever, like whatever the big prize is usually goes to that person. So I think at least in my area, sportsmanship is huge. Like if you're not a good sportsman, you're not getting best overall, which is like the next best prize that you can get is best overall, which is like the blended scores of everything, right? So that'll be like sportsmanship, paint, and then your generalship, and then best general's the person who obviously wins the entire thing. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the competitive scene in general is something I want to get onto a little bit later. I'm going to quickly do my hobby progress, and then Tanya, I want to go through, like, as with every guest we have on, like your backstory and your history, and going back to the beginning of your origin story in the hobby.
All right.
But yeah, I have like 2 things really that I've done hobby progress wise. I have finally finished the Repulsor Executioner, which has been literally on my little shelf here since January, I think. Yeah, literally, I think it's been since January. It's taken ages, and that's not even like because it's been difficult. It's just me being a slow person. So it was and it was so worth it because it got so many likes on Instagram. And I know that's a really bad way of like measuring these things.
I know,
but like
I know.
it was almost 5,000 likes. So like it was a big deal for me.
We're sitting here telling you, I'm happy because you've now got a 2,000 point army and we can have a proper full game with the fists, right? And it looks really good and it's well painted, and you're sitting there going, oh, it got 5,000 likes on Instagram. It's the most important thing. No, the most important thing is you have a 2,000 point list. Come on,
I was gonna
and
say,
your mum likes it. That's the most important thing.
That is true. Right? My mum did like it, but it's kind of like the crowning thing for the 2,000 point list, because like now finally I can play like a proper game of Warhammer with the Imperial Fists, and like it's just kind of like a cool milestone like thing to have in the army, because like it's the thing that got me to 2,000 points. It's it's the first tank I've painted since the early 2000s. So as we all know, the Bush presidency. It's a thing. That is a way of recording time.
A recurring theme is that Quipster here measures time by whatever administration was in charge of the US. So,
You're not even American.
That's a thing. I know. I don't like.
What?
Yeah, the early Blair years, 97 to 2001. Yes, that's how I measure time.
Do you record your date of birth by your what presidency it was?
Bush 1.
Yeah, it would have been Bush 1 because it would be 89 is
Bush
Bush 1.
Oh God.
Yeah. So yes, but it's
Wow.
it's the first tank I've painted since before the Iraq War. It's the crowning thing to my 2,000 point. It's the crowning thing to my 2,000 point
Can you
list.
please mix this up? Can you please start picking like the governments of like I don't know, the government of Azerbaijan or something? Like,
I'm gonna make
work
this
out
like...
who was president of Kazakhstan in 1990 or whatever. And go date it from that.
To be fair though, actually, I could do it based on whoever was president of Nigeria.
You can make it really easy. You can make it really, really easy and just go with North Korea because you've got about 2 choices. So, job done, easy. Yeah, Kim Il Sung. Yeah, I'd finished it at the Kim Il Sung administration.
It's not like you could do what edition of Warhammer was out because that's actually relevant.
You'd think so, but that's not the direction I've taken.
No.
I might start using like the Gregorian calendar from like the late 1700s just to mess with you.
It doesn't surprise me that you know that.
Isn't the Gregorian calendar just the calendar?
Oh, damn it, yeah, the Julian calendar.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you talking about?
I use the Mayan calendar, so to me, we're just over the end of the world.
So it ran out 6 years ago. No, 8 years ago.
I stopped with dates in 2012.
Just time has been an irrelevant concept for you, Ed, since 2012.
I'm a very poor employee.
But yeah, those are things that happened. The other thing I was going to say, like, it's a crowning achievement, this tank. Also because I think it's a rite of passage to get a message from Warhammer, the Warhammer account, and them to just be like, oh, we would like to feature this in the hobby roundup. And when I got that, for this tank, I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. So yeah, I immediately put that in the WhatsApp group, and I was like, "Oh my god, guys, this cool thing has happened!" So it's like a crowning achievement of the army so far, and I'm just really happy with it.
I'm really proud of you and jealous of that at the same time. I might just keep posting my tree bid every day to see like if I could get on the stream.
Oh my god, do it!
Guys, I'm gonna say it. Self-worth is defined by what you like about your models, not whether bloody Warhammer messages you.
But it helps.
Nonetheless, it's a very pretty tank. It's a very pretty tank.
It's stunning, I have to say.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you guys.
did you get an army showcase on Play on Tabletop?
Oh, we will get to that.
Oh, damn, son.
Boom, that is a mic drop right there. Okay, talking about this, right, Tanya, hit us with the origin story. Tell us how you started in the hobby, and then we'll get on to the Play on Tabletop thing, because that is also fantastic.
Okay. So I guess we'll start like way back. So I always grew up with science fiction. Like my mom and we used to watch Next Generation together, like just reruns and stuff.
Oh, yes.
And so that and original series as well, a little bit of Deep Space Nine, but so like my love of science fiction started with Star Trek, and I never really liked Star Wars. Don't at me. And then and that kind of like went into like Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that. And
yes.
So I always loved science fiction more than fantasy. But I never got I never knew anything about Warhammer because like where I live, there's no Warhammer stores. You can't just walk through a mall and like find a hobby shop or a GW store. It just doesn't exist, right? And none of my friends played, or so I thought. One of my really good friends from high school messaged me. He's like, "Oh hell, you're like doing like Warhammer and stuff." And hey, we used to all play Warhammer. And I was like, "Really? And they're like, yeah, we didn't tell you because we thought that because you're a girl, you'd make fun of us. And I was like, really? Like, we're sitting there playing video games, and you think okay, sure.
It's not a big leap, is it?
No, not really. So I never really got exposed to it. And then when I was in my late 20s, I made a friend, and this friend was like, "Oh, do you want to see my hobby?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool, sure, show me." And he showed me. I think he was painting blood angels or something at the time. It was definitely like a space marine. And so he showed me, and I was like, "Oh my god, like what is this?" He like gave me the rundown of the lore and everything, like, Cliff Notes, as you do with somebody who, is coming into the hobby for the first time. And I was like, oh my god, that is so cool. And you paint all these little guys? And he's like, yeah. It's like, oh, that looks really cool. Like, I would like to try that. So this friend eventually became my boyfriend. And then he told me, he's like, that there's a game that goes along with all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, really? Like, sweet, like, let's try it out. And at this point in time, it was 7th edition, so we tried a little bit of Floorhammer, and like I played a few games, so I really wasn't into it at that time, but I really liked painting. So I picked up a small Chaos Space Marines force, and I started painting it. And I painted like 4 things, and I was like, I don't like painting this. This is way too much trim. This is not fun at all. And then I sort of switched to Space Wolves, and that was a little bit better, but I still I didn't really, I enjoyed painting it. Painting it was fine. And then 8th edition came out, and so I started playing a little bit more, and Space Wolves didn't really suit me at the time. So then I sort of put it down for a while, and I had another hobby that was entirely soul-sucking. It took me out of the house a number of days a week, and it required me to do a lot of training because it was a sport. And so I did that for 5 or 6 years, and then I hurt myself. And then I couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, man, I've got all of this time that I'm used to putting into something that's, quasi-competitive. I need to fill my time with something else. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll go back to War Dollies, right? So I went back, and at that time, everybody was playing Age of Sigmar. So I was like, Beastclaw Raiders seem really cool, right? I'm going to start Beastclaw Raiders, and they were doing like an escalation league at the time. So I got I got a few units, and I painted them up, and I started playing, and I absolutely loved Age of Sigmar. It was so fun. I was playing all the time. I eventually got quite a big painted force of that, and then all of a sudden, everybody stopped. Everybody stopped playing Age of Sigmar, and then they went back to Warhammer 40k. So I was like, oh, I guess I gotta figure it out. And so I went back to Space Wolves again. Really still not a good fit for my playstyle at all. And at this point in time, too, I had decided that because I wasn't doing my old hobby, my sport anymore, which was my entire Instagram account was based off of that, I was like, I need to start a new one for my hobby, right? For my Warhammer hobby. So I started that account, started posting my Age of Sigmar stuff on there and stuff, and it took off. Like people really liked what I was doing there. It's like, that's really crazy. So then, anyway, I'm posting to Instagram, and I'm doing a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I'm just going to start a new force. And I kind of looked at Guard, and I was like, this will be a good fit for me, I think. And from my very first game playing Guard, I was like, this is it. This fits me. This is how I want to play this. And yes, as soon as I started posting more Guard stuff as well, my Instagram blew up even more. And I guess it's all been downhill since there.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, what attracted you to Guard in the first place? Was it the aesthetic? Was it some of the lore?
I was looking strictly from how I wanted to play the game. I'm not a big lore person at all. I read the books. I it doesn't make any effect for my gameplay at all, but I do enjoy the books. I literally was thinking about what I needed out of my army to enjoy playing. And this was in 8th edition. And I was like, I need to shoot at a distance. That's what I need. Like, getting tucked into combat with the majority of my force is not fun for me. So Space Wolves is just not going to work for me. And yeah, as soon as I played that first game with Guard, I was like, I suck, but I can at least see, like, I can at least have fun with this army. So yeah, that's how I picked it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, does that like feed into your choice of like what to pick for your next armies, or is that just like purely an aesthetic thing? Like when you chose like orcs, for example, was that just I want to try them from a competitive standpoint, so I'm going to have all this stuff, or was it like I like green?
So the first time that I ever played orcs, it was actually Apocalypse, and
Wow.
yeah,
Jesus.
So my friend Kyle from Gear Guts Mech Shop, he has a giant collection of orcs. It is, at the time, I think it was like 60 or 70,000 points of orcs. It's a lot more now, but
Fuck?
Yeah. And so once a year, he has the big game with Scardcast, where basically it's like Kyle's whole collection versus whoever wants to show up to fight it, right? And he was like, I really need somebody to help push orcs around, I want to say the table, but it was 8 tables. So he's like,
Jesus
I need
Christ.
I need
With
somebody
a
to help
spade.
me. Yeah. And so yeah, the first time that I ever played orcs, I think I was in charge of like 6 detachments. I was called the tank crumpany. And it was ridiculous. I think I had like 4 stompas. I had an entire detachment of like mini grot tanks. I had like 8 kill tanks or something. Like, it was just stupid, right? And it was a lot of fun. That was the first time I ever played Apocalypse. It was the first time I ever played orcs, and it was a lot of fun. And Kyle was like, hey, you want some orcs? And I was like, no, I can't start another. And he's like, hey, you sure you don't want any orcs? And I was like, well, like maybe you could send me one thing. So he sent me...
That's always how it starts.
Right. So he sent me a single model. And after this, it was all downhill. I don't... Like, obviously, I'm not going to be able to, like, show the listeners, but he sent me this. This is, like, counts
wow.
as Gazgul.
Nice.
It's giant.
That's fantastic.
And this was the most fun I've ever had painting any model ever. So this is one of his designs. This is a Gear Guts Mech Shop model. And I had so much fun painting this that I was like, yeah, okay. I'll start a Death Skulls army. Let's do this. And yeah.
Orcs are just... orcs are one of the few armies I don't have, funnily enough, but I've played them a few times, and you always have fun playing orcs.
Yeah.
I just think they're hilarious.
Yeah, so and it's funny because like I don't want to play elite I don't want to play horde armies. So this is an elite orc army. Originally, it started off with the idea that I was going to do 3 kill tanks with 5 meganobs, dual kill saws in each one, all Death Skulls, so they're obsec. And then I was going to have 3 units of 10 shooter boys and like a unit of grots, a weird boy, and a war boss on bike. So that was the idea. That was all of the list was going to be. But as I started painting the models, because I originally did want to play it competitively, with like no expectations of actually winning, but just like, haha, here's my meme list, let's go. And then as I started painting the models, I just realized that I didn't want to play them competitively because I just wanted to paint what was grabbing me in the moment, because I have never had as much fun painting an army as I am with these orcs. So that's sort of where we're at now with the orcs.
they're just they're a fun army, and I mean the idea of doing the elite orc army sounds really fun actually.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of Winter's SEO. I like watching his orc army when he does his bat reps with his like sort of mega knobs and stuff in the power armor all knocking around. But also, fundamentally, as a Londoner, green space cockneys, I feel an affinity with them. So,
I genuinely love how they've all got like an East London accent. It's one of the best things ever.
It feels like we're teeing Adam up for an impression.
Oh my god! No! I wouldn't dare.
That's fair enough.
Do you know what it is? You know what it is though? It's because I'm a big fan of the comedy show. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Tanya. It's a very British comedy show. But the Mighty Boosh, they have a character called the Cockney, who is a green Cockney, and he's sort of. I've always wondered if they were somehow inspired by the orcs in Warhammer 40k. Because they're just ludicrous. Any army that's got like a gun. That again, from like the concept, that you suck a grot, a little tiny orc, into a tube, and it like warps it using what is essentially a teleporter inside the body of your opponent. I mean, it's brutal, but it's also cunning, and that's what I like about it.
Nice.
Sorry, I don't know. That was horribly cringy. It's brutal, but it's also cool.
Brilliant.
It's also cool.
I didn't know they had that. What was that gun called?
It's the shock attack gun.
Oh, is that what that does?
Not the. Is it the shock attack gun that does that? Which one is it?
Yeah,
I feel like
it is.
It's just Dakar.
More.
So the thing with my army is that like everything is third party. I don't have any GW models at all.
Oh wow.
In this army.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really interesting. But like, for example, in the company, because it's all Gear Guts Mech Shop stuff, which I actually, like, full disclosure, I work for that company now. But like, he's got 2 designs of that particular gun, and it's just, each one is so inspired. Like, I feel like his designs tell that story. Like, one of them, he literally, like, there's a cage of grots, like, attached. I mean, they're not grots, they're goblins, but like attached to the orc with like the big gun, and they're all like sort of like tossing around inside the cage, and like all of these models tell a story. And I sometimes think with my guard army, I don't really get that. I don't get that feeling. Like, you don't see that in the actual miniature of that storytelling, but I think orcs give you a lot of room to be narrative on, like, the model itself, if that makes sense.
Ooh, I don't know about that. You've got that Bullgrim with the excellent moustache. He looks like he's got a lot of backstory.
Well, I mean, that's like the stock model. Right?
Yeah.
Is it? I thought that was like something you'd done.
No, that's the stock model. I just lovingly gave him the name of Wilford Brimley.
That is brilliant.
But he looks exactly the same.
Much.
Yeah.
He does look like a Wilford Brimley, though.
Yeah.
Just honestly, just imagine this Bullgrim wandering into battle, clubbing people over, and just going diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like
pretty much.
The problem with the guard, right, is that the Cadian kit, the bog standard guardsman's kit, it as you say, I think it does suffer from a bit of a lack of personality. I know I say that we all love bitching about the hobby, so why not? Let's go. But I know that guard players understandably get annoyed that there aren't, you have all these regiments. Some of them have quite kind of cool, scheme, just outfits, their armor and stuff they're wearing. Yep. And you just have to do loads and loads of conversion work because you can't get hold of the models. Or go third party. There are a lot of third party companies that make stuff for them. So yeah, I don't know. I see what you're saying. It is quite difficult to get the personality into the individual guardsman. Although I will say at this point, just to highlight that our friend Rich here has had a wonderful idea for a guard army, which is that there is a British TV show called Sharp, which is set in the Napoleonic Wars. And Rich is a big fan of this show and wants to do an entire army of kind of almost Napoleonic era guardsmen in the sort of the redcoats ultimately, although green I guess is.
So the order is going in on Monday. So
Wait, you're actually getting it?
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I was gonna keep it a surprise, but
Oh.
the cat is out the bag.
I like to help.
So what I'm gonna do is have the bog standard line and troops be redcoats, but then there'll be like there is a command squad equivalent box, right? I think for a guard, and they're gonna be the green, like the actual riflemen. So the green coats that would be Sharp's crew. So the elite. That's what kind of the idea of it in my head. But I'm so excited for it because I mean all of us must be Sharp fans. Tanya, you need to watch it. It's just brilliant. It's
I don't watch TV.
James Bond in Napoleonic times.
I was just going to say, I'm quite torn on how you should play Sharp himself, because part of me is like, oh yeah, he should be the tactical genius behind it all. But part of me is like, because those of you who've never watched Sharp, Sharp is played by Sean Bean, so maybe you should always just be overly aggressive with him, so that he dies every game.
He has a habit in it to he always gets stabbed, slashed, and always in scars and always wounded, but it just keeps going on like nothing's ever happened. So he will be in the thick of the battle. But I need to figure out how I'm gonna do it justice, like a Sharp, but in 40k times. So I will probably be doing some. I can't remember what the site was because I know I've talked to you a bit about it, Ed. With there's like head swap. I'll probably be doing a lot of head swapping, and then but hopefully if GW eventually do a Praetorian Guard release again, or I don't know, a Mordian Guard where they actually look a bit more. Stop it, cat. Look more. More like fitting with the theme, then I'll definitely just go down that route. But I'll try my best to, with extra third-party bits, get into making them look Napoleonic. But yeah, I'm really excited. I was actually just quietly listening to everything you've been saying about the guard, just like writing down little tips of what I should be doing. So it's like manticores, good idea. I think basilisk probably might also be a good idea.
Yeah, usually take one. Yeah, my list has one.
They also look cool, so.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, in general, I think the one of the beautiful things about not being, like, a, quote, meta list is that Guard kind of, they require you to really, like, think about how you want to play the game and then find the units that are going to assist you in accomplishing that. So yeah, I would say just, like, don't be afraid to, like, try stuff. You might love, like, a horde of, like, foot infantry. You might absolutely love that. I know I would not like that. But
I think that fits in with
you just
theme.
never know. Yeah, and I mean, there's some okay options, right? Like maybe look into Scions too. Like that might, or something that counts as Scions, right? Because they just do everything better.
yeah, basically they're like, yes, we come from the sky and we do everything better than you. Have you got a problem with that? Too bad.
Yes, better.
No, I was gonna say there's a chap who pre lockdown played with a few times at the London Wargaming Guild, Jake, who has he loves his guard, and he again, perhaps because of the meta thing, like his thing was like he had a load of what are they called? Not Chimera, the flamer ones.
The Hellhounds.
The Hellhounds?
Hellhounds, that's it, yeah. And he was just like, because my army is basically like they're run by a sergeant who was like they're all from a gang world and they're like Mad Max type thing, like they just love flamethrowers and stuff. I was like, yeah, but he's not worried this is all going to blow up on your army. He was like, brilliant, even better.
Actually, that has me a good question, because surely like a really lot of that type of tank, maybe with a lot of what's the transport tanks called for a guard? That would be quite a good list, you'd think, because they'd be quite cheap.
Chimera. Yeah. I mean, I love Hellhounds. I love them so much. They're probably my absolute favorite tank ever. I actually don't have one in this next sort of competitive list build. But I might end up adding one more back. I don't know, just because I do love them so much. But in my defense, I do have 2 Chimeras with 2 heavy flamers each, which kind of do the same thing, just not as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think that the flamers on the tanks are good, but I mean, if you compare them to other things that you have in the codex, then they're pretty good. But again, just depends how you want to play it.
One thing I actually wanted to ask you as well, to interject, Rich, is it's quite rare to see a woman in the competitive side of the hobby. I think there's a large percentage of women that are in the painting side, but it's quite rare to see in the competitive side. Number one, how did you end up doing more competitive stuff? And what has the reception been?
I'll take this one. I'll just mansplain you.
Nice. Well played, sir. So my local meta is very competitive. Obviously, not everybody in the local meta is competitive, but the people that were the most welcoming to me personally in the meta are quite competitive. And my mentor in my local area is one of the best Gene Stealer Cult players. Actually, he's the best Gene Stealer Cult player in the world. So that is just going to like rub off on you, right? And like when I was struggling so much, like not winning any, like winning 10% of my matchups, and like who am I going to go to figure out how to play better, right? Like I go to Alex, and I really liked the community around competitive gaming. Everybody was very nice to me. Everybody was very like non-judgmental. Everybody wanted to like bring me up with them. And yeah, I don't know. It was just a really good fit with my like be nice, roll dice kind of like mentality about the hobby. So yeah, just sort of like fell into place that way.
Awesome. I mean, one of the other things about you that I find to be amazing and hilarious in equal measure is you're one of the most well-connected people that I know in like the 40k sphere. It's like genuinely amazing to watch. Like how, because like you help out on Forge the Narrative.
I'm a co-host now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. See, and on top of that, like you haven't mentioned this, but your coach, I believe, is Scary.
My coach, yeah. My coach is, Scary.
Like,
the Duckkin.
The Duckkin.
So I will say that as somebody who's been, as you can tell, building bloody Dark Eldar boats.
Yeah.
I have been watching while I've been doing this a lot of Scary's videos on. I was watching his battle report today against some Custodes, funnily enough, and also a lot of his sort of his reviews of various bits, and also I was in contact with JT, who we had on the podcast as well from JT, because I was like, right, you are I need to go to the master here for some questions on like what should I put together first, what should I be looking at. So I've been absorbing the power of Comera via the medium of the internet. So hopefully it will make my Dark Eldar make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Scary seems like an awesome guy. And obviously
he's a big jerk.
Deldar player. Yeah, it's like you have to say that as his student. You have to be like, yes.
No.
The master is not friendly.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's one of my best friends. Like, first and foremost, he's one of my best friends. And I mean, I joke around that he's like got this huge ego and blah blah blah. And the only reason why it's funny is because he really he's got a little bit of an ego, but it's not like I think my ego might even be bigger than his. I don't know, but like he is literally just one of the most like down to earth, nicest human beings out there. And yeah. I don't know. He's just great. And if people want to know more about, and he doesn't just play Drukhari. His very first army that he ever had was Black Templar. That's like his first love. Yeah.
Oh, amazing! I did not know that at all.
Yeah. There you go. Blowing your minds. Pow.
Literally.
See, this is what Rich said at the start. People come to this podcast expecting 2 hours roughly of just Warhammer-based idiocy, and actually you learn things, important things. Yeah. See, this is what we're here.
I learned stuff about butter today.
It's funny that you bring up JT too, because he's also like one of my very good friends. He like spams me with the most wholesome memes you've ever seen. It's just like another like wholesome, amazing dude. Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing I kind of wanted to ask. Like, the Play on Tabletop video. Yeah. Did you become friends with JT because of that, or did you know him beforehand? Like, how did that come about?
I guess it's like a bit like interconnected a little bit. So like Alex, my mentor, is on the same ITC team as JT. So they're kind of interconnected, and the sort of competitive wargaming crowd is fairly interconnected in my province because we don't actually have that many events, right? So like we travel quite a bit in order to get to these events. So I was a nervous wreck at my very first tournament, but he was there. all of the Play on Tabletop guys were there, and actually Space Marine Steve actually came over to be like, "Hey, is this your first tournament? Like total teacher, like how are you doing? I like your tanks." Like he was just like the nicest guy, and I'm just like dying inside. At the time, I didn't know who these people were, right? I was like, who's this fucking guy? And so after that, I had Space Marine Steve as a guest on my old podcast that I used to do. And just in talking to him, trying to set up that interview, we sort of became really good friends. And yeah, so then I went to a tournament in August, and JT was there, and he came over and introduced himself to me, and we were both really frickin' hungover, so we're just like, nice to meet you, right? And so those were like my first meetings with those guys. And then, yeah, they like straight up were like, "Do you want to come play on tabletop?" And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
like I wanted to, because like that's an amazing honor to be asked to be like on a huge production like that. It also was like I felt like it would be really good to like further women in wargaming to do something like on that big of a scale. But I also have like tremendous social anxiety, especially around playing Warhammer in front of people, which is super funny because like you think, how do you do tournaments? But I work through it. But so I've been dealing actually with a lot of anxiety about, obviously there's going to be a bat rep coming out. It might be out by the time this is out. I'm not entirely sure, but and I've had a lot of anxiety leading up to this point, but they released the pre-release to patrons last week, and the overwhelming positive support for myself and the people asking me to come back to do another one almost immediately has sort of made that anxiety a lot less. But it's been a couple months of just being like, oh, people are going to be mean to me. People on the internet are going to be mean to me, but it's starting to subside a little bit. So, yeah.
In terms then of getting into content creation for Warhammer, like what was the spark that initially, what was the thing you did first, and what was the spark to do that?
I mean, the very first thing I did was share some pictures on Instagram. That was like the first thing that I did. Right. And I was just like, I'm just going to like post my stuff up. It'll be a photo diary, and then I'll be able to like look back and see how far that I've come. Right. It'll be like a motivator to actually paint stuff. And like seeing that kind of blow up, it was kind of shocking to me. Cause like, I don't actually like, I'm not that great of a painter. Like I like to take my time. I don't like to make it look good, but like, I'm never going to win a golden demon. I'm okay with this. So to have that kind of like outpouring of support from the very beginning was kind of mind-blowing, especially because my last, like when I first started getting into the hobby, my forays into online spaces to share my hobby were not positive at all.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess I was blown away by the support of the people on Instagram. And then I started actually doing a like Women in Warhammer Wednesday, where I would like seek out women in the hobby and just do like some Instagram story posts about them, how they got into the hobby, what they like, and any advice that they'd have for other women coming in. And that was really like my very first content creation that I ever did. That was it. And I didn't really think about it at content creation. Like everything that I do, it all has to do with making it easier for women to get into the hobby. Because when I first started getting into the hobby, it was not a nice place. unless you had a really supportive local group, if you had to go out into the internet to share your hobby or to find any information or anything, it was not nice. And I wished that there had been a woman already doing it to like tell me it was okay and tell me that I could do the things that I wanted to do, and it reassure me that when I go out into the real world that those people on the internet are not the norm. And yeah, so everything that I do in terms of content is to further that, to like show people it's not scary and there's room for you to do the hobby however you want. And yeah, that's how it all started.
Interesting. I mean, that sort of leads on to something I wanted to ask as well. Like I have a female friend who is in the process of getting back into getting into the hobby right now. She's painting some Slaanesh demons. She's started an Instagram account, and I'm just like, yes, Slaanesh, awesome.
I also have Slaanesh demons, so yes, I agree. This is good.
Amazing. But for someone who's starting into the hobby, and I know sometimes she can get anxious about this kind of stuff as well, like the reaction she might get from the more toxic elements of the community. What would you tell someone like her when she's like first getting into the hobby?
So is her anxiety
Not to put you on the
around
spot or anything.
Is her anxiety around going out into the real world?
To a degree, I think. I think it's also a little bit online, worrying about the reaction that she might get.
Yeah. I would just explain to her that like the positive interactions that she's going to end up having are going to far outweigh the negative ones. Like in general, I think I get more negative ones because I am quite outspoken and because I am in because I play the game. So I have like I have people who try to tell me how to play the game and assume that I don't know how to play the game, right? I think if you just paint, in general, it might be a little bit easier in that regard, but it also might be more difficult. I'm not sure. In general, like my negative experiences, even online, are like a small fraction of my extremely positive ones. So, yeah, I would just tell her to like reach out to women who are already in the community, because every single one of them will at least listen. In my experience, the women of Warhammer on Instagram, at least, most of them are very supportive and like have gone through all the stuff that she's going to go through. So in general, we all sort of support each other. And yeah, there's two content creators and myself, and we call ourselves the Salty Sisters, and like we just have a group chat just to like bitch. That's it. And there's tons of women out there who will do that for you if that's what you need, right? So yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam, were you going to say something earlier? I forget.
No. I mean, I was going to say that sounds like solid advice. I mean, like, yeah, I think representation. Look. I mean, bluntly, I'm a white middle class English male, so I'm about as like flipping privileged as you can humanly get on this planet. But like one thing we like to talk about on here is that representation matters. It does matter, and it is important, and people should. There are people out there who, again, bluntly, are dickheads to people, for whatever, be it because of gender, be it because of race, things like that, and they are a vocal minority. I hope they're a minority. I think they're a minority.
Yep, they are.
And the community, the community is welcoming, and like whatever your background, just go for it. Like I think the more people and it sorry, I don't want to feel like I'm tacking onto what you said here, but like it just annoys me when people do that, when people do that kind of gatekeeping stuff, because at the end of the day, the more people we have in the hobby, the more, and I've said this on the other episodes of this, so I won't like go on the same rant I normally do. But the more people we have in the hobby, the more players we have in the hobby, the better it is for all of us. The more games we get, the more people we get to interact with, the more flipping colour schemes we will see, the more army types we will see. There's nothing negative about that, and how people can sit there and go, oh, actually, I want my hobby to be a very small group of closed people who are exactly like me. I just don't get it. Honestly, it doesn't. I don't understand it. At all.
I'm that person. I'm like, oh, you like this cool thing that like is super niche that I also like? I think we just became best friends.
You know what? It's funny actually, because when you were saying earlier about the whole like growing up watching, like my granddad got me into Star Trek when I was a little kid. He was I was literally
just thinking about that.
And he got me into the Next Generation, and it's a bit like that, right? Like, when you're at school and you meet someone else, you say who's into it, and you're like, oh, you're into Star Trek. Oh, cool. Well, but it's a bit nerdy. Keep that quiet. I find Warhammer is a bit like that even now at work. Like when I interact with people because I work in law but financial services basically, and I meet people all the time who are these like pretty high position, very hard-working people, and then they'll be like, "Hey, you like Warhammer? Oh, you like Warhammer? Yeah." And instantly, it's like, okay, this is cool. It's like we had Pleasant Kenobi on last week, and like obviously big Magic the Gathering player.
Yeah.
The number of people I've met who play Magic the Gathering who are like working in flipping investment banks and stuff.
Because it's the only people who can afford it.
You know what? You're not wrong. But I think it is that thing of you meet somebody and you share something in common with them, and you actually realise there are so many more people that are into this from all sorts of different people from all sorts of walks of life and backgrounds, and that's what makes it good. That's what makes it fun. That's what builds the community.
Yeah. 100%.
I think also one of the things you said earlier was the like clicked in my head was you like, oh yeah, I met someone in my 20s, and there isn't that click to my head because like it's actually quite hard to make friends as a grown up, and this hobby just allows it shocks my girlfriend a lot. This summer, I think she was really sorry, I guess last summer. Sorry, it's been a long time in lockdown. Last summer, she was really shocked that I was on house party every day with these guys because she was like, "How well do you know these guys? You haven't known them that long." And it's like, and it's exactly as you say, Tanya. Like, I read all the books that these guys read. I could listen to the War Hipster talk about painting techniques for hours. I could listen to Quipster talk about, because Quipster is one of the most well-read people I know, talk about lore for hours and hours. I would just never. You connect so quickly. It's incredible. It's really weird.
I mean,
it's so true.
I just want to give you a hug.
This is getting all very lovely. It's great. But I was going to say, like, I mean, this is the silver lining for me of this lockdown, stuff we've all had to go through, and this horrible pandemic. The silver lining, and obviously I know it's been a very dark time, but try and find silver linings, everything, right? Is this hobby seems to have gone crazy, right? There are, GW's made a lot of money. There are a lot of people buying this stuff, right? So when lockdown lifts, here and in Canada, in the US, and all around the rest of the world, although judging by what I've seen on Goonhammer, it looks like Australia have just been like, yeah, mate, yeah, we'll just play tournaments for the last 6 months. What have you guys been doing? But
bring out the impressions, love it.
Just constant results from Australia and New Zealand because they handled the pandemic reasonably well. But once it all lifts up, there's going to be so many more people that want to come and play stuff. I mean, I honestly, I'm in a lot of the London, as we all are, a lot of the London Wargaming Guild chats, and the number of people who are just like, yeah, I'm new to the hobby, got to get back into it after 15, 20 years, played it a bit when I was a kid, and it's like brilliant. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, actually, one thing. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, on top of it, this is, like, 9th edition is one of the most easily accessible editions that Games Workshop has ever put out. So all of these people were like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get back into it in a time where they couldn't play, but they used to play way back in the day. I think they're going to find that they actually really like this rule system because it's so streamlined in comparison to, like, I mean, I haven't been in it that long, but I started in 7th, and that rule set, while the rule set was good, it had issues anyway. But yeah, I think that people are going to really like it when they come back to it when the world opens up again.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the first instance of somebody who was in 7th and earlier editions to rock up and go, right, I've got my Flamer template, where do I put that?
Necromunda?
Yeah. Necromunda, or if it's going to be 40k, probably the bin.
I always love when people talk about these old editions because I only know 8th. I never played the hobby before 8th, and when you talk about these templates of things, they sound really cool, but it also hurts my brain a little bit. Just trying to imagine it.
The arguments about like how many dudes are actually underneath like this giant apocalyptic template, right? Like, no, that guy's definitely not in. And you're like, well, like there's so many like disputes over this one mechanic. I understand why they got rid of it entirely, but yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sort of like the flip side to some of the things we've been talking about. Like, one thing I've kind of been thinking about a lot recently is how to introduce the hobby to like a significant other or like your friend group that may not be part of that at all. Like, what would be your suggestion there? Not that I can talk because all my friends play Warhammer and I'm single, so this is like not advice.
I was
going to
make
for,
that
like,
joke,
everyone
but
else.
you did it for me. Alex. I was going to say, Alex, we don't need to do that. We don't have that problem.
I think that it's always going to be niche, right? So, and I mean, if you're asking in terms of women, in general, I feel like if she's got an interest in art, you might be able to approach the painting. If she's got an interest in chess or other like tabletop games, then maybe approach it from the game perspective first. If she's got a love of like science fiction or anything like that, then like maybe approach the lore side of it. But in general, I feel like the women who are going to like it, they're going to like it, like they're going to be interested in it just by seeing you doing your hobby. So I've been thinking about it a lot, and the reasons why you don't see a lot of women in the hobby, I mean, they're multitude. But the first one, I think, is the time investment, right? Like a lot of women, especially women in their 20s to 40s, are going to, if they haven't started a family yet, they're probably going to want to start one, and that's going to cut into your hobby time a lot. If they're not family oriented, then they're probably working, and I mean, it sucks to say it, but a lot of women are responsible for a majority of the house, right? So right there, if you want your significant other to do more of your hobby, you need to take more of an initiative in the housework, the actual like day-to-day decision makings that add up for women throughout the day. Like you need to like give her a little bit more time throughout the day so that she can actually feel like, oh yeah, maybe I do have time to do this. I think that is one of the biggest things. If you've got a spouse who's mildly interested in it, give her the opportunity to try it, right? The other things too, I just think that strategy and guns are just something that a lot of women aren't interested in. Like I used to play roller derby, which is like around women all the time, and I have asked all of the women on my team twice if they want to come over and try this thing that I love so much, and not one of them ever took me up on it. So I just think like in general, I just think it's probably not going to appeal to a lot of women, but we do need to make sure that the women who it does appeal to, that we make sure that the hobby is an inviting space and a welcoming space to those women who do want to try.
Awesome. I think that's really good advice. There is one sort of other way that I found has worked on a couple of my friends so far, and it really surprised me. There seems to be a thing that's really popular with basically every woman I know, and that's murder mysteries, like detective things, all to do with like murder. Like that's like a really big like making a murderer and all of that. Or women who listen to like murder podcasts and like crime podcasts, like that's a really big thing.
Okay.
Are there women who are plotting to kill you, Quipster?
Well, I didn't think that before, but I do now.
There's a group of them.
They have a podcast.
Yeah. But like, I found that like my friend Catherine, for example, I said to her, like, she's like a little bit interested in the hobby, and she was just like, I'm surprised that you're like so into this. And I was like, well, I really love the lore. And I sort of thought about it for a second. I was just like, okay, Catherine reads a lot. So I turned to her and I was like, well, why don't you read one of the books? And she's like, I'm not interested. I don't like sci-fi. And I was like, no. There's this book. It's called Eisenhorn. It's just kind of like a murder mystery, and he's like a detective. So why don't you just try that? And then she read it and she loved it. And now she's like, yeah, I want to make a YouTube video with you, and you show me how to play Warhammer. And it's just like escalated from
Did Catherine
there.
do fencing as well, by the way?
No, she did not.
Oh
I
my
met her in a
God.
shop.
You know how
all my
we were
friends-
talking
all my
about
friends are
that
fencers.
there's no like sexy Warhammer characters? I'm sorry, Eisenhorn is sexy.
Well, do you know what?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm gonna say so. Weirdly, I mean, not that it's a demographically representative sample at all, but my other half, Kelly, is into murder mystery podcasts and is currently reading the Horror Heresy.
See?
And I have said to her, you should go and read Eisenhorn and some of the other those sort of like non-Horus Heresy books. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of proving your point here. Although I will say, she actually technically reintroduced me to the hobby, right? So a couple of years ago, I was, my job was very, very busy. It's very, very stressful. I was just like coming home. I didn't really even play video games. I would just like watch TV, and I didn't really have much free time. But she was like, you need to get a hobby that, especially in the winter when, I mean, it's Britain, it rains a lot anyway, but, when did the rainy season start? About 3 AD, and has carried on unabated ever since. But when you can't really go out and you can't really, be active in the sunshine or whatever, she was like, you should get a hobby to pass the time. And she was like, didn't you used to paint little soldiers or something when you were younger? And that was the biggest mistake, the second biggest after probably agreeing to marry me, of her life, because now I have a room full of Warhammer, as you can sort of see behind me and can't see off screen. So if anything, she reintroduced me as a way of a relaxation method from work. And now hopefully it will work the other way. She has actually painted. I need to actually finish one recently. I'm going to put them all on my Instagram. She painted a bunch of the. They're actually the Nightmare Hulks from the Gellerpox infected, but I got them because I use them as Chaos Spawn in my Death Guard army because I thought they're suitably nurgly and they're on the right base size and stuff. So she's actually painted all of those. There's like 5 of them, and we had a good time sort of sitting together doing painting and stuff. So yeah, I'll work on getting her into the game. And do you know what? I would tell her to listen to this episode for sure, because I tell you what, Tanya, she's gonna love your comment, absolutely rightly, about the ensuring time thing, because the point about the frank imbalance in domestic relationships, women and men, is 100%, and it is about making time and it is about doing stuff. And then she'll remind me that I haven't yet done the washing up tonight, so it's not going to run well for me. But I've got to do that after this podcast, so it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, like, I want to. Like, I want to be hopeful that, like, there will be a bigger demographic of women in the hobby. And I do think that there will be more women in the hobby, just as representation becomes better and as more and more women in the hobby start to find their voices. Will it be 50-50? I don't think so. I just off of the number of women that I've asked to come over and just look at my hobby and having nobody interested, I don't think it will ever be 50-50. But I do think that the hobby is in a much better place than it was 8 years ago when I was getting started. And that's something to really celebrate. So it's much more inclusive than it ever was. Not saying it's perfect, but it's much better, and I think that we are on the right track.
Yeah. It's getting better, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the other kind of big things I wanted to ask you specifically, Tanya, is I think you're in kind of a unique position as well, in that you and your husband both play Warhammer. So, like, do you guys each have a hobby room? Do you share one? Like, Where do you put it all? Because I know you've got a lot of Imperial Guard.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
You're worse than Adam.
So this is my pile of shame. It goes to the roof. I've got 2 bins off because I'm digging through them. All of this is mine. So for people who are listening, there are stackable plastic bins that go all the way up to the roof, and this is just my pile of shame, and my husband has probably 3 times as much.
Oh my word.
So we used to live in a small bachelor suite apartment, and I have no idea where all of it went. My husband packed it all away, and we used to play floor hammer and stuff, and we were saving money to buy a house, and we bought a townhouse, which we're in right now, and we're deciding where we want the rooms and stuff. So it's a 2-bedroom, and so we're looking and we're like, oh wow, this must be the master because it's quite a lot bigger than that other room, right? And then we look to each other and we're like, yeah, this bigger room's gonna have to be the game room. And we're like, yeah, it is. So the master bedroom is actually our game room. And we have an extra tall table. Yeah, we have an extra tall table. It's about 40 inches tall. That is our permanent game table. And I'm kind of showing the guys. So that thing behind me, that's all miniatures. And then most of the stuff on the table's mine right now. But then see all those bins?
Nice. Wow.
That's pile of shame.
That is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's not a pile of shame. It's awaiting conversion parts. That's the best way to think about it.
Yeah, we actually had to buy extra insurance. Oh yeah, I've also got a giant display here for our painted stuff. Yeah, you'll love this. You'll love this. We had to buy extra insurance for our war dollies, so we bought $40,000 worth of insurance.
Yes.
Honestly, I would have loved to have seen the look on the insurance broker's face when they were processing that one. They were just like, "So what is this all for?" It's like,
oh no, insurance people know not to ask. You just okay, what category is it? Oh, it's art and collectibles. Okay, cool.
I had kind of the opposite, where when we did the insurance for our apartment, because over the years I've obviously lied about how much things have cost through the various streams into this apartment, and then we were doing the insurance. We went on holiday, and she was like, "How much insurance you need?" And I was like, a few thousand, £4,000 maybe. And then she was like, "What, is your laptop that expensive?" And I was like, sure, the laptop. Yeah, let's go with that.
That's a good idea.
Kelly came out of an absolutely brilliant one, very much on that front today. Where I started this new job, so I have to, you have to fill in all your sort of your forms about where, if anything happens to me, what happens to my pension and what I get paid and stuff like that. And I was like, I've sent all those in. I said, so if you're going to push me off a cliff this weekend, you get it all, job done, right? And she was like, yeah, and I'll sell all your Warhammer, right? Joking, and I said, well, the good thing is, it does keep its resale value, so there's probably maybe a few grand's worth of stuff here. And she just looked at me and went, "Oh God." So that tells you a lot. I mean, we are talking about the space thing. We live in a small flat in London, and much like many places in, I know certainly Vancouver in BC and Toronto, London, big cities, it's just everything's very expensive and you don't get much room. But we are looking to try and buy a house over the next couple of years, and it's quite funny because our three key requirements really. So we have a dog, so we need a garden. Kelly bakes, so she wants a big kitchen. In order to be able to do her baking in a lot more. And 3, I want an outbuilding or a shed or something or a cellar where I can have a games room. So every time we started looking for houses now, it's those are our little requirements. Look around, has it got these things? Oh no, we're interested in that one. So if any estate agents listening, no, I'm kidding. But
I love that one of your top requirements was an easy commute to work.
Nah, it's all right. We got Zoom calls now. We're all right.
Yeah, everybody works from home nowadays.
Yeah, it's true. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I kind of think on that note we've hit all the points. We've basically almost Tanya, throughout all of our podcasts, we never sort of really script like how long we want it to take, but they all seem to reach a natural conclusion at
tell?
2 hours. Like literally every single one.
Oh, that's fantastic. I when I'm recording for my YouTube podcast thingy, I'm always like, 30 minutes. That's where I want it to be. And they're always between 40 and 50 minutes. Like, I have not ever been able to get them at that 30-minute mark, and like someday I will. Someday. But I also don't edit them at all. So like the whole thing just goes straight up, no editing, because I want to show people just as like their natural kind of unique, authentic selves, so I don't edit anything.
Absolutely. I think the one we did, that was like an hour and a bit in the end, wasn't it?
For Twitch,
the Scary one. Yeah.
So just put paint on it is an hour and a half. In general, those ones are an hour and a half.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but
we had a big debate about this stuff when we were just a bit of background, bit behind the scenes for the listeners.
BTS.
We had a big debate about this, right? Where we were like, Ed and I were very much of the feeling. We were like, well, you know what, we should probably stick to about half an hour, 45 minutes. No one's going to want to listen to it. Quipster, quite rightly, and I credit him 100% for this, was like, no, we'll just go on, and it will probably be a bit longer, but what people... I was like, no one is going to want to listen to us waffling on for like 2 hours. Boy, was I wrong! So there we go.
Turns out, Adam, you're more interesting a person than you thought you were. People want to listen to you.
I think it's more people are more bored than we anticipated they would be.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I thought the same thing. Like, I thought, like, nobody's going to want to listen to me ramble on for, like, 2 hours. And, like, my only complaint that I've gotten about my YouTube channel is, like, they wish that it was longer. And I was like, really? Like... I don't know, because my 100%. YouTube channel is like so targeted to like a specific question. I think 2 hours on a specific question in general is going to be like too much. But I don't know. Maybe I'll do like specials.
We're quite lucky because we just go off on awful tangents.
I try. You know what? I can't do it because of I used to do a podcast called 40k Today, which was like a daily podcast, and
we've heard about it.
Yeah, and so like your interviews were like 5 to 10 minutes max, like like 6 to 7 minutes was like the sweet spot. So like rambling, I'm just not capable of doing it anymore. I'm so trained. Steve Joel, if you're listening, you have trained me so good. I cannot even ramble anymore. This is all you, buddy.
I'm going to send him this now.
You
Tanya,
better.
Tanya, feel free to join the conclave, and we will soon get you into the wonderful world of waffling on for ages about any old nonsense.
Yes.
Don't worry, we are experts at it.
Honestly, like I got all the time in the world. I have so much free time. I might as well just take another thing, right? That's huge sarcasm for the people who don't know who I am. Just probably everybody listening to this, but yeah.
Oh my god, absolutely. And on that note, Tanya, where can people find you?
Oh gosh, you got another 30 minutes on this, right? Okay, so I do a lot of content. I do a YouTube channel every 2 weeks where I grab different people from the hobby and we discuss, some sort of topic that I choose. And that's been like a lot of fun. And I stream my painting twice a week on Twitch. So that's Wednesdays and Saturdays. And Tuesday through Friday, I do a morning Just Put Paint on It show with Scarredcast, where we have guests who come on and we just sort of sit and hobby and learn a little bit more about them. I co-host Forge the Narrative podcast with Red, Paul, and Adam. I recently started writing sporadic articles for Goonhammer as well. And I do daily updates to Instagram. I think that's it.
So you are as 40k as it gets.
Just a little
basically.
Bit busy.
Yeah. I'm so busy. It's stupid. It's so stupid. Don't do this to yourself, people. Oh yeah, and I work 2
Amazing.
jobs, so
Oh my god.
Bloody hell.
yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm the administrator for GearGutsMechShop.com, so I literally get to sell war dollies.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice.
as for the rest of us, listeners, you can find us all if you follow the Conclave 40k on Instagram. We're also on YouTube. We post all of our miniatures, all of our stuff online all the time. So yeah, that's where you can find us. And if you ever have any topics that you want us to cover, people you think we should get on the show, please just drop us a DM. We all read them. We all have access to the account, and it's always really interesting listening to what feedback you guys have. So yeah, to sort of sign off, I have been Quipster. Who wants to go next?
Just I'm Bereza Bai.
You go next. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah. Professional, as you can say, I've been ADR Wargaming.
I still am the Sandman.
Amazing.
You haven't eroded away
Thanks
anymore.
everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.